Hey, welcome collectors of all ages. This is Mike with Jayhawker Vintage Cards. It's been a couple of weeks since I've posted a video, so it's about time, and this may get lost in the shuffle for something. I think something's going on called the National this week. Obviously, it is National Week, and a lot of you are at the National. I'm not going to the National. Never been to the National. Really don't want to go to the National in terms of walking around looking at cards with all that crowd of stuff. I'm just not interested at all. Love to go to meet the people, meet those of you who are YouTube content creators or just people who watch YouTube videos, or anybody. Just anybody who wants to get together and talk cards, sign me up for that, right? But for those of you who are going to the National, I have a little request. Record as much as you can and share it with us. I don't get fatigue from watching the get-togethers, the shows. I can't wait to see the cards that you pick up. A lot of you have shared your list, that maybe cards that you wanted your entire life, and I can't wait to see who gets what. And I love watching the Strongsville content. Now I am going to Strongsville next year. I've already made plans for that. How I'm going to get there, that's still up in the air, but I've got my rooms, I'm ready to go, and I can't wait to meet so many of you that I've been watching for years. I mean, it means a lot to me because I'm having the time of my life. But for those of you going, record. If there's live streaming opportunities for the get-togethers, oh, that would be awesome. Just to have that camera and just seeing people talking and just experiencing everything that is positive about this community. And I can't wait to see those of you who are out with your buddies on the floor and you're picking up those cards and you have people helping you and you've got somebody texting you or waving you down saying, hey, over here, here's the card that you've been searching for. I can't wait to see the smiles as you guys pick up those cards, and how much sweeter and special is it to do it with your buddies. So, I'm making my list for Strongsville. Now, I'm on the very low end of the budget level compared to the majority of the YouTube content creators. I still love my collection, but, I'm not searching for a $2,000 or $3,000 card. I'm probably going to be looking for a card more in the $1,000 to $2,000 range. Now, if I can save up for it, sure, but I'm having a heck of a time saving up for Strongsville. I'm already failing at that. Before I get into the meat potatoes of this video, I want to give a shout out to Treavor at Blue Collar Cards. Now, Treavor doesn't have any content unless he's made one the last couple of days, but he does have a channel. He subscribes to a lot of people. I see him in comments. But Treavor had reached out to me a couple times, as have some other people who've watched my videos. And the reason why is they say, hey, we really like your videos, Mike, but we have a hard time hearing your voice. We have to crank up the volume to 11 in the best Spinal Tap version. I watched some of my videos and I agree. Now, I don't have a quiet voice, but the reason that they're having trouble hearing me is I have a really old Galaxy phone that's far away from me because I have a face not designed for video. I know that. You know that. So I keep the camera far away. I don't have a microphone except for what's on the camera. And then behind where this camera is, there's like a little way. I'm sitting at a bar in my basement. But there's a furnace and the furnace, air conditioning, laundry room. It's right on the other side. And so like right now it is humming. And it's not like a loud hum, but it drowns out my voice. So what Treavor did is he got my address. Now I've sent some care packages to people, but nobody has sent me anything through the mail. But Treavor did. Now I expected it to be some type of cards or something, but what it was a microphone. So hopefully I've tested it out a little bit. It seems to be working better than not having a microphone. And what's funny about that is that morning I told my wife, I'm like, I really got to look into getting a microphone because people are not hearing me. Well, what I didn't realize was Treavor had already sent this to me, and actually that very same day, here comes a microphone. So when I opened it up, I was so tickled. Now, I encourage, and I have encouraged Treavor to make some content. I know others have too. So Treavor, man, you got to jump in and do this. I've always said the biggest regret that I have is I didn't start making content sooner. So Treavor, again, tip of the cap. Now, if you watched my last video, you know how much I love eBay authentication. I love it. It's the best. I mean, I love it when they take a card or an item that's already graded and they bounce it all over and they send it off to eBay authentication, even though it's already authenticated by a grading company. I love that. Because if you saw that video, you saw what they did to my 1951 Wheaties Premium Stay in Mutual. Well, they couldn't authenticate it after all this time, so they sent it to me, and it was heavily damaged, the slab. Well, like I was saying, I broke down, and I bought a beautiful, beautiful 1954 DAN-DEE dukesnider. Here's the actual image of that card. Now, it was graded, and because it was above the threshold that requires it to be sent to eBay authentication, we don't have a choice to say, nah, we'll take our chances. It's already graded. Well, it's wherever it's at. So who knows when it's going to get here. Hopefully it's going to be in very good condition, but I had to share it. I shared that card with some friends, and so I'm going to do it for you. When I finally get it, I'm sure I'll share it on a video. Now, like I said, I've been trying to save up for Strongsville, and I blew my budget a little bit, a big chunk of it anyway. And when I was thinking about, I got to have something, and I'm not a set collector, but I wanted to have something that was on a much lower value or price level that really interests me. And if you watched a video from a while back, you know I love 3D cards. Just loved them since I was a kid. And so what I had decided to do is I decided to put together the 1970 Kellogg's, not the set, but the 1970 Kellogg's 3D football and baseball Hall of Famers. You know, I'm not a set collector, so I really don't care about the commons. So I made that kind of my hobby project to keep my interest. And I've started acquiring quite a few of them. I want them all raw. So I'm not getting any graded. Now, I actually have a couple of graded 1970 Kellogg's. But for this project, I just want to get raw cards that have really, really good centering, no cracks, no curls, just as good as a raw card that I can get. And it's been a little bit tougher. It's very hard for me, I have a hard time buying these types of cards, the 3D cards, via eBay, because it's really hard to see the true condition of those cards, right? So I bought a few, and I've been happy with them. So, but most of these I'm picking up at shows now and then. So a little bit about the 70 Kellogg set, and I'm getting some of them ready to show you here, is this was the very first 3D set that Kellogg put together. But they actually had, I discovered, they had a set back, and I actually have it written down. They have a 1937 Kellogg's Pep Sports stamps. And then in 1948, they actually had two, not really sets, but they had postcards that were issued in Cuba. And I think there's like 5 players in that. And then they also did another set in 1948, like Pep celebrities or something, and 5 of those were baseball players. But their actual, the Kellogg's that we know started with this set, 1970 Kellogg's. Now, there's 75 cards in the baseball set, and I think there's 24 Hall of Famers, and then there's some other guys I think are going to be in the Hall of Fame, or if they are in or if they do somehow get elected, it's not going to hurt my feelings because they're right there, worthy of it. So these are the ones I have. I don't have all of them. I do not have all of them. So if you're at the National and you find a really good one and you think I might be interested, hey, shoot me an email or send me a text. I might say, hey, pick it up, and I'll buy it from you or get it from you. But these are the ones that I want to show off here. So of those 24 Hall of Famers in the baseball set, I have 10. So I'm just going to do them. And I didn't take some of these don't have the little sleeve on the outside, so I apologize. I didn't want to take it off and mess it up and waste them, but some of them don't have them. So the glare, I don't know. Anyway, first one is Stretch, Willie McCovey. Again, I try to get cards that are really beautiful center. None of these cards have any cracks. Corners are good. No chipping. I don't even know if it's worthwhile to show the back of these, but man, I just love these. There's such a nice, clean set, too. Tom, terrific. I mean, look at the images on these cards. I mean, and some of these, to me, blow the Topps images away. I mean, look at that. That's badass. That's awesome. Tom Seaver. A very young Reggie Jackson. Sweet swinging Billy Williams. Didn't get the pub of Santo, and especially not Ernie Banks, but Billy Williams. Billy Williams was really, really good. Billy Williams was great. Speaking of Cubs, how about Mr. Cub? Let's play 2. Ernie Banks. Again, as you're noticing the theme, I'm really trying to get as good as centering as I can. Another Cub. Ron Santo. When I was a kid, I watched argument between my kind of my first mentor in collecting, Jeff DeLiesel, at his card shop in Lawrence, Kansas, arguing with the great Bill James. Bill James, of course, in his formative years as a writer, lived in Lawrence, Kansas. I think he still might. But he used to show up and go into the baseball card shop quite a bit. And, of course, Bill was a huge proponent of Ron Santo for the Hall of Fame. Jeff was not. Jeff's argument kind of makes sense, but Ron Santo's one of the best third basemen of all time. So is Ken Boyer. Get Ken Boyer in the Hall of Fame. But they used to argue back and forth about, and actually it was a couple times, but they used to argue back and forth that Ron Santo should be in the Hall of Fame, and Jeff DeLiesel was like, no, if he was so darn good, how come the Cubs never won anything? That makes sense, but come on. Ron Santo, Hall of Famer. So is Ken Boyer. Should be. Al Kaline. When I was a kid, I always thought his name was funny because it's alkaline, like the battery. None of my friends thought that was funny. Maybe you don't either. I do. I think it's funny. The Killer. Very undervalued in the hobby. Flip the card over and look at his back. The guy punched out home runs or knocked out home runs at this point more than anybody other than maybe Kiner and Ruth. Did he have a low batting average? Yeah, and he played during the era of the lowest batting average in the live ball period. But I'd rather have the guy that can ding 40 home runs a year than hit 290 with 3 jacks. That's just not my type of player. You guys might know this. I have a lot of friends who are Cardinals fans. I am not a St. Louis Cardinals fan. I'm not. I'm a Royals fan. But that being said, I love baseball history, first and foremost. When you're a fan of the Royals, you only go back to 69. So, I mean, you don't have a long tradition to go after. But I love a lot of the great Cardinals players. Stan Musial, one of my all-time top 5 favorite baseball players of all time. You know what I think about Ken Boyer? Put him in the Hall of Fame now. But this guy, Bob Gibson, one of the best. One of the best. Now, I have to say that there's some guys I mentioned that I did pick up this card of a guy. He's not in the Hall of Fame, but he should be. And I know if that great vintage genius who knows everything about vintage cards, his name is Goober Wilson. I think he goes by another first name, but I call him Goober. Louis Taint. I think Louis Taint should be in the Hall of Fame. Put Louis Tiant in the Hall of Fame. Damn it, the guy was great. He threw hard. He was a strikeout pitcher, dominated. Then he had some arm issues, and then he just won with guile. I mean, just watching old videos and games that he pitched, man, it's entertaining to watch that guy. Put Louis Taint in the Hall of Fame. Goober Wilson doesn't know who he is. Louis Tiant, man, one of a kind. All right, so that is the baseball Hall of Famers and should be Hall of Famers that I have from that set. Like I said, there's only 24 out of 75 cards. And what's shocking to me, there's no Atlanta Braves in that set. They had just won the National League West in 1969. No Hank Aaron. You should see some of the guys that they have cards of. No Hank Aaron. No Phil Niekro. Come on. All right, let's go to football. I'm just going to talk through football real quick. The football set for 1970s has 60 cards, and they actually have a higher percentage of Hall of Famers. I think they have 22, 23 Hall of Famers, and I actually have 16 of them. So I'm going to show you these. If you didn't notice, except for that Louis Tion, these are all in order in terms of the set. So same thing here. But let's go. Len Dawson. Again, beautiful examples of what I'm trying to get. Nice, clean cards. Love these images. Try to get centering awesome. Dick Butkus. The Bears. It's always interesting to me that Butkus and Gale Sayers, who's obviously a great Kansas Jayhawk, I probably have a card of two of him back there. But Gale Sayers and Dick Butkus never made it to a championship or Super Bowl. As far as I know, I'm pretty sure they didn't. Larry Wilson. Honestly, don't know much about him, except I think he's one of the first people elected to the Hall of Fame that never played in a championship game or something like that. Couldn't tell you for sure. Another great Chief, Jan Stenerud, a kicker. And you can tell by looking at him, that's pretty much all he would have been able to do athletically. Paul Warfield. Again, I'm trying to get the best raw examples of each card that I can find without spending too much time doing it. You may ask if I'm going to be... oh, here's John Mackey. You might ask, do I plan on sending these off for grading? Now, if you know anything about these Kellogg sets, you know that they are very condition sensitive. They are very prone to cracking. They are very prone to chipping. They are very prone to curling. So again, I've tried to find ones that are not like that. I've heard conflicting ways on how to store these, so I'm not sure the best way to do it. If you know the best way to do it, feel free to comment or shoot me an email. I love getting feedback. Merlin Olsen, to me, is undervalued. Great player. Was great on Little House on the Prairie. I actually knew him growing up because my mom was a huge Little House on the Prairie fan. So I knew Merlin Olsen from that, and I always heard he played football. As I got older and started collecting, I realized he was a hell of a good football player. Lem Barney. You know, you hear a lot about football players in the modern era having stats that just are eye-popping, especially quarterbacks, compared to what occurred, you know, even in the 80s and the 70s and the 60s, of course, obviously the 50s. And you hear the same thing really about receivers, but that's not true. Lance Allworth. If you have a couple minutes, go to Football Reference and type in Lance Allworth and look at the receiving yards this dude put up. Whew. Man, it's just amazing. And we all know the deal about football. My opinion, the NFL has not really... they've not really pushed the history of the game as much as you would think. And it's hard because the Super Bowl era is, 60 years old or getting that way. I guess it probably is close to that now. It's not like baseball where you can track all the way back into the 1800s. But, man, football's so undervalued. And if it's not a quarterback, nobody seems to care except for maybe the very top tier handful of running backs. And then, for receivers, this is even less than that. Great Chiefs, Bobby Bell. It always pains me to put a Raider on here, but Fred Biletnikoff was great. Stinking Raiders. Speaking of Gale Sayers, hey, there's the Gale Sayers. I mean, these are just beautiful cards. The images are outstanding. Love these things. Sonny Jurgensen, great quarterback. Bob Lilly, Dallas Cowboy. Are the Cowboys still in the NFL? I mean, I remember a generation ago they were a pretty big thing. Cowboys still have a team? I'm not sure. Just kidding. Johnny U. And then the last one, and not quite at the level, in my opinion, as Lance Allworth, but another great receiver, Don Maynard. So there you have it. Those are the cards I have so far in my project. Now, if you watch that 3D video that I had on a while back, you also know my other project. And then I'm looking for, or what I'm trying to get, is the 1972 Kellogg's all-time greats. Those 3D cards. And it's kind of a weird set because I don't think all of the best at each position are on there. It's a relatively small set. And I know there's a 1970s rolled gold that's basically the same thing. I'm looking for the 72 Kellogg's. And the reason why is I actually have one. Exactly one. I have one of the Babe Ruth cards in that set. And I have it in an SGC 9. And so that's what I am trying to do. I want to get that entire set in an SGC 9. I've been doing that now since, I guess, probably sometime in April, maybe May. And I have found exactly zero online and at card shows. I may need to look in other places. If you have a really nice centered SGC 9 of any of those cards, again, drop me a line, shoot me an email, whatever it is. I want to get that set. But you have to be patient. And like I said, this is something that's going to take me a while to do. I am confident, 100% confident, I'm not going to have it done by Strongsville. So maybe if I blow a lot of my budget and I don't have a lot there, maybe I can find these at Strongsville. I don't know. But anyway, again, those of you who are going to the National, please get there safe. Have a great time with everybody. Record as much as you can. And until next time, keep enjoying collecting.